Can your ministry really spark a global movement? Well, our guest today is proof that if you take what God has given you and put it out into the world, the reach can go around the world. Let's go.
Welcome to the Monetize Your Ministry podcast.
And you get a chance to interact with them. To me, that's full-time ministry.
Did I have to? Because tattoo diabetes is like a feed. It brings in itself and then it opens.
I want to provide content and things that are going to help change lives, and I simultaneously want to receive a blessing from that.
Now here's your host, Kamon Hans.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited today, as always, that we have some great content for you. But before we get there, you know what to do. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube that you subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you share it because you're somebody who needs to be edified, empowered by this content. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure you subscribe and then share it with someone. All right. Also, make sure that if you're on a podcasting platform, you leave us some rating and review. It helps others to find the podcast. All right. So listen, a while back, I had another podcast, the Ideas to Life podcast, and I did an interview with this guest, the guest that we're going to bring on today. And that was one of the most powerful interviews I've done. In fact, we made it a 2-part series, and my children even loved it. They had a little joke on that one because as we were doing the interview, this person was having breakfast, so we called it Breakfast with BJ. So our guest today, I'm going to bring him on. Today he is BJ. Welcome to the podcast, my brother. Ooh, let me unmute you. My bad. Welcome to the podcast, my brother.
Thank you. It only works when you unmute me. How you doing today,
I know.
brother?
I'm doing great, man. Let me give you a proper introduction so the folks know who you are. BJ is a life coach. He's a speaker. He's an author. Recently released book, Awaken A Better You is right behind him. And he's helped to launch one of the largest faith movements in recent history, the 116 movement with Grammy award-winning artist Lecrae. A lot of us have been rocking with 116 for a long time. BJ is one of the founders of that movement. He's also worked to expand groundbreaking racial reconciliation work with schools, with prisons, juvenile facilities, churches, and nonprofits. And BJ's work with tens of thousands of individuals and couples all over the world, helping them experience personal, professional, and relational growth. Currently, BJ serves as the executive director for Build a Better Us. Listen, BJ, there's so much more I could say about you, my brother. I just want to let people know, buckle your seatbelts. You're going to get a lot out of this podcast today. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me today. I'm super excited about it. Thank you for the warm introduction.
Yes, sir. Listen, BJ, I said a lot about you. Author, speaker, movement maker. Yeah. What's one thing about BJ Thompson that people would be surprised to find out?
I love long walks on the beach. Let me see. One thing that you would be surprised to know about me. I used to be a lifeguard. I swim really well. You know, I'm a melanated brother, but I swim really, really well. And I've actually won a few awards as a lifeguard. So, yeah, that's something you probably would not know about me.
I didn't know that. That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
So if I'm ever planning to go swimming, man, I need to make sure I got someone like you close by.
You need to call another lifeguard. I said I used to be a lifeguard. I said I used to be one. Not I am. I used to be one.
Now, for people, this is interesting because I heard you say this, but I want you to repeat this. For people who know 116, they know Lecrae, they're familiar with the music part of it. I remember you saying, well, I'll just ask you this. Tell us about your musical talents and giftings.
Yeah, I have zero. I can't play the piano. Hey, I probably can play the kazoo. Remember the kazoo?
Yeah.
I can play the kazoo or something like that. I don't have any of it, man. I don't have any musical talents, none of that. I can't sing. I can't play an instrument. I've always experienced life as a background and love culture of music. So yeah.
Well, tell us, how did we talk about 116 and we've seen the impact across the world.
Sure.
Tell us about the early genesis of that ministry.
Yeah. So, when I look at my life, I'm a Dallas native, not a Cowboy fan or hater. My my earliest upbringing were around hip hop, right? I remember my first shootout. I was 7 years old. I was at T Bazaar, which is a huge, kind of deal in Dallas, and I was at an Onyx concert. Uncle Luke was there, Onyx was there, and hip hop was a way to express the culture in the community that was not seen, right? So I grew up, as I grew up, went to the University of North Texas, and I began to have this wrestle with my faith, where a lot of who I was becoming, I wanted to become, essentially just kind of this cool, club promoter, kind of like somebody that's DJ, all those different things. But I still had this thing where I wanted to be right with God. I had this desire to want to be right with God. And as my life started to come to the end of itself, or what I imagined for my life began to come to the end of itself, my life in faith began to start, right? And that journey took me into redirecting who I was becoming and where I wanted to lead people, right? Initially wanted to lead them more to my status and fame. I realized that people were best led into the altar of life, right? Mm-hmm. And so as I began to kind of go on that journey on the college campus, I ran into this guy one day, had a stocking cap on his head in the weight room. And I was like, "What's your name?" And he said, "My name's Lecrae." I said, "I've heard of you before," right? And I asked him, I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You look lost." Right? His shocked look on his face, like, "Wait, you know me? You know me, dude?"
Yeah, it's pretty bold.
Yeah, it was. I grew up in a gang neighborhood. So, and it actually started our relationship. We actually became good friends after that. He and I got an invite to work at a juvenile facility. And I asked him one day, I said, "Man, you want to go with me? I'm going to work with some kids." We went. He said, "Absolutely." We went to go work with some children, 40 kids, for 4 years straight, man, every day. All we did was love on them, serve them, took them on some, on little furloughs, everything else for 4 years straight. Within that 4 years, after 4 years, we moved from serving 40 kids to influencing millions of people across the world.
Wow.
And so, a lot of that kind of that genesis of it had nothing to do with music. It actually had to do with ministry. It had to do with serving others and redirecting them towards true life and true freedom.
I love that, BJ. And I think it's important for people to know. Sometimes you see people in one season, right? You see the stages, you see all of that stuff, but you don't recognize the genesis of this. And for a lot of us on here, you may ask, what should I be doing, man? It's like serve. Where's God called you to serve in this season? Right. How could you be faithful to that calling? So,
that's right, yeah. And even just to that point, that was 40 kids, right? That was a little bit less than 40 kids, and we just served. And that kind of was the point. The point is, be faithful with what is in front of you. Don't look for the fame. Just be faithful with what you have in front of you.
Yeah. So 116, that movement really started impacting people. But even in the midst of that, right, this podcast is Monetize Your Ministry. Was there a point where there was a wrestling with, hey, we're serving. How are we going to be selling something that we're serving at the same? You know what I'm saying? Like, you feeling me?
Yeah. No, that came quick. I mean, this okay. You're doing ministry, really quickly. All of a sudden, invoices come. What did Jay-Z say? Everybody's a boss until the invoices come, right? So when you start seeing those invoices coming in, you're first doing it out of the purity of your heart, just the intention of your heart. And you realize quickly you need resources to continue. And so for us, what we did initially was Lecrae would actually travel all over and do concerts. He and Dashi talked about this. Car got caught on fire or whatever. And we ended up starting a thing called Reach Life. So Reach Life was our way of funding the ministry to be able to serve people. And I remember, I'll never forget this. We had really no idea on what we were going to do. Much of what we were going to do was, first we were going to just ask for donations and realize, man, ultimately we need to ask people to get behind something. And so we started, creating curriculum. We created a curriculum called 13 Letters. which was about the 13 Pauline epistles, and it was a CD, and it was a book, and it was a thing. And it was actually the first curriculum that I was a part of helping kind of organize. And then we said, man, we should sell this. And so I think for us, when you come into this desire to want to be in ministry, but you have a clear plan or infrastructure, you kind of caught off guard with the resource part, right? You kind of caught off guard with the need to have something that you sell or an item, because that wasn't your heart. Your heart was to start a ministry, start a church, help people. You were never starting. You were not thinking about starting a business.
Right.
That really is the critical piece.
Yeah, listen, I go back to, it was 2005 or 6. I went to a conference in California, and I remember a friend of mine, call out his name, Estes Taylor. He was like, yo, there's this guy named Lecrae. There's these guys, 116. I remember Lecrae did this, Larry Acosta did a conference. I went to that. I heard, and then I started just following you guys, the 13 letters. And then you guys were in Memphis, right? And then moved to Atlanta. But it was just something about how you guys worked as a team. And there was just this team spirit. And I don't know, I just feel impressed to ask, talk about that. Just how you guys, we all young people, just kind of building a ministry, building a brand, but also working as a team together.
That's a great question. So, I mentioned that we kind of our relationship started at a university. I was actually talking to a friend today, and we were talking about some of the genesis of many of our relationships. Our diverse adult relationships didn't happen in our community or family. They happened in college. And so, I think sometimes for us, for adults, the first time you're able to make clear cognitive choices about your relationships happens when you're away from home and you're away from family, and it's in college, right? And so many of us had chosen at the age of 19, 21, 22 years old that we were going to center a lot of our life on our faith. And that meant now we were in community with each other, right? We weren't just friends, we were brothers and sisters. And then that meant like figuring out what that meant. How do we flow every day to day, from going on trips to creating products, creating programs. And so it wasn't necessarily even something we planned. It was just, as you grow day to day to build these relationships around these eternal truths or these spiritual formation, how do you have habits that are consistent with that relationship? And then what are those rhythms? And so when a group of us went to move to Memphis, it was kind of our first serious point of call to action outside of the bubble, right? So we said, man, we live in this small suburban community that's a college community. What if we took this passion, this zeal, and this desire, and we moved it to a larger city? That's what Memphis was, right? But we still needed guidance, right? And so shout out to one of our mentors, Sue Campbell, big time, mentors. We were part of a church community. So we didn't just move ourselves into a new city. We moved into a new community where there were elders, where there were mentors, and there were other people who were very busy creating ministry so that we could then understand for the first time and learn our own rhythm.
Wow. It's good stuff, man. I moved to Memphis in 2012, man. Y'all left before I came.
Oh,
I moved a little too late, man. But you guys definitely left an impact in that city. Now, I want to talk about Build a Better Us. So 116 is happening, and you've worked there. And where does the idea for Build a Better Us and that passion and that interest in reconciliation and relationships come from?
That's a great question. So remember I told you I was a Dallas native. I did not mention that I grew up with a father who had dropped out of school in 10th grade and a mother who had me at 17 years old. That drastically shaped my idea of the world. Growing up with a teen mom, I look at my daughter. I have a daughter right now. As of right now, she's 19 years old. I remember when she turned 16 and a thought quietly came to my mind. This is the age my mother was when she conceived me. My mother was 16 years old when she had me. She was carrying me at 16. She birthed me at 17 years old, right? And as I was kind of watching my daughter and thinking, how much would a mom at this age be able to offer me? I thought, this is my mother. This is what my mother would have been in, right? She would have had this much of life. Would I trust my daughter to raise a kid? No, I would not trust her to raise a kid. I realized that's my life, right? And so it was my life. I recognized that I was only as equipped as my parents were. My parents were barely equipped. So when I left out of the neighborhood and moved to an hour away, I had my first awakening. I realized that I didn't know anything outside of the neighborhood. And so truthfully, Build a Better Us came, as I was beginning to understand who I was, right? We knew what the music was because we could see it taking off. We saw people getting tattoos everywhere. We saw people growing. And I think that a lot of times people thought that I was just like a wingman or a hype man or something. Like, I don't think people really took seriously that I was like the heartbeat of something. Mm-hmm. And so actually when Lecrae, Ben Washington, who's they're the CEO, co-founders of Reach Records, actually when they moved to Atlanta, a lot of people like, I remember sitting down over coffee with a guy who was a board member. I'll never forget this moment. We've been traveling, touring, talking, everything else for years. And I will never forget this moment. They all moved to Atlanta to go pursue music and to expand what they're doing. This is 2009. This is the summer 2009. And I will never forget, we're sitting over a cup of coffee. He looks at me and I'm just kind of talking casually. He says, I need to be honest with you. What do you actually do? Right? And it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, I realized I was too close to art, creativity, and music to have understood my value or worth apart from music. And so for the next few years, I think what began to become clear was that outside of the churches, outside of the nonprofits, outside of the music, I had this gift for growth and development, right? And that happened actually in Memphis. It actually became undeniable in Memphis. People from all over the city would come to my house. People from all over the city would come to my events. People were from all over the city. And there was no platform that was built. It was the platform that I was building. And so Build a Better Us really was initially it was a formative way to understand that work, right? Again, you have so many activities, so many things going on at the same time. All we knew at the moment that it was about growth and development and families. We did not understand that it was a movement of growth and development with people and individuals as well that will create kind of that whole person, whole family, professional, personal development. And so as I began to do things, I began to speak. I remember the first time I spoke, I remember everybody's jaws dropped, right? And I remember people being like, oh my God, I had no idea that's what you were thinking. Oh my God, I had no idea you were that good of a communicator. So I did more of it, right? So then I traveled all over the world by myself. So now it's not me on a stage with someone doing music. It's just me with a lapel on, mic'd up, communicating truths, formation, development, stories. And so out of that, Build a Better Us really just kind of came. It came as a result of me being consistent, growing, developing, and then being introspective about the fact that truthfully, I'm really just a coach, right? I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I have this unique gift of development that helps people flourish in all seasons.
Man, okay. We got to talk about this. I love this. Man. I'm gonna tell you why I love this, right? One, you said I have the gift of development and growth. Yeah. Right. And somebody's watching this. We're talking about ministry, monetizing ministry. So, okay, I understand selling a CD, right? I get that, right? Like that's we know. I make some music. I sell the CD. Now, you still gonna have folks who be like, man, just use your talents for free. But I think we've passed that stage of paying artists, right? Even our local musicians, whatever.
Yeah.
But when we talk about growth and development, isn't that like, I think for a lot of people, we struggle with the packaging of that in a way that the marketplace sees value. You're right. So it's like, how do I package that? How do I package growth and development? Is that something I just mentor me, right? That's free. How did you first begin packaging it in a way, right? In a way that people could say, let me pay you for that.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, I did not know that was my gift, right? So I think the first thing to say is, and I think people thought I was a fluke. I literally think people believed when they heard me say I started one of the largest faith movements in recent history. I think people actually believed that was like a lie, right? So when it became a clear delineation or distinction between myself and music, people believe, again, if it's true, it's a stop, right? So if I am just a junkie, flunky, whatever, the moment I separate from the thing that actually makes me who I am, it's going to stop and actually expand it further, multiply all over the world. So people are like, I have no idea who this guy is and what he does. One of the things, right? It's like, what the heck? So one thing the first thing I think needed to happen is I had to start taking risks to understand my rewards, right? So I had to know who I was. I had no clue who I was, apart from just being someone with zeal and passion in ministry. So I had to start taking risks. I had to start putting on events, conferences, galas. I had to start writing down, thoughts and ideas, sermons. I had to start writing in dialogue with folks and then trying things. And then the more I did certain things, the more without effort, people would say, oh man, you're really good at that. Oh, man, that was amazing. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. And I just took inventory of what that was. I think the moment I turned a corner was when I stopped playing it safe with the safety nets and I stopped trying to run to the conventional institutions that I believed were going to be my supporters. And the moment I said, Tony Robbins has this statement. He says, if you want to take an island, burn the ships, right? I had to bet on me. I had to fully or 100% bet on myself. I would, again, I would give a caveat. I wish I would have created a better plan for how I was going to do it. But I just bet fully on me. I bet this, that even though I was part of these massive institutions, that I was gifted and anointed enough to do it on my own, right? So part of what I needed something to sell to the market. I needed a book. I needed an e-course. I needed something. I need merch, right? And one thing that was has been helpful is meeting with consultants, right? I've had tons of, whiteboards, consultants, business plan, developers come in, investigate who I am. And, one thing that came out on one of my consultations that I paid for was you have presence, you don't have a product, right? And so I knew I had presence everywhere I go. I did not have a product, right? So it's like, I need to build a product. So maybe it's a t-shirt, maybe it's a hat, maybe it's a whatever. But then as I continue to grow, one of the business evaluations says that your value proposition or your marketplace value proposition is that you are a life expert. That's all I needed to know. Once I figured out that I was a life expert, now it's about packaging. Now it's a book. Now it's network. Now it's coaching, right? Now it's courses, right? Now it's me communicating life in a presentation. I am a life expert. Oh, that's my value proposition. Yeah. And so I had to seek outside help to see what was in order to understand my business and my marketplace value. And I had to stop allowing the thing that I coincidentally was a part of find my marketplace value. So I was around church folks, pastors. So every time I communicated, I would say, you are a teacher. right? You are a pastor, or you are a mentor, you're this. That's not within, that's only within that institution. In the marketplace, I'm actually a coach, right? So it was like I had to make that clear distinction in my mind that yes, I love people. Yes, I love to serve, but I don't necessarily have to serve within a religious institution, right? So when I go into the marketplace, I'm more of a coach than I am a pastor. It's just that my skills can both transcend both worlds, show me how I want to do it.
That is so good, BJ. BJ Thompson is our guest today in the Monetize Your Ministry podcast. And as BJ is just sharing, think about this. There are people who are thinking, man, I have this gift. I'm using it in the church, and this is the only place I can use it, right? I'm stuck here, right? And you're saying, listen, the God who gave it to you allows you the opportunity to use it in other spaces and other places, and there's value in the marketplace, right? And so I heard there's so many things you said, right? Begin trying something, putting stuff out there, experimenting, using it, using your gifts, and then you paid for people to help you to get some clarity and to define what that offering was. BJ, I remember we follow each other on Twitter. I'm a mess and yet deeply loved. That tweet got viral and became a T-shirt, right? And I tell people,
a hoodie, a T-shirt, everything. Man, that mug became a theme. Listen, right. I realized that what I had presence and not a product, and that every time I would say it would go viral.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, and I had a good friend who was like, bro, you say this goes viral. Why don't you have a T-shirt? Why don't you? And it was just that I was not seeing myself as somebody who needed to create products, as someone who was a business. I saw myself as somebody who just loved God and wanted to serve people. And so I think that mental switch is you cannot be afraid to invest in yourself. Man, listen, the best thing that ever happened to me, you said mentoring is free. Not good mentoring. Good coaching is not free.
Yes, true.
Good mentoring is not free. You may look up and find an incredible mentor, but even that's not free. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you maximum effort. It's going to cost you something significant. And so what I'm saying to you is, one of the things I had to stop saying was, this is like a scam. Well, I've been scammed before. I went to college. I paid for a degree that didn't necessarily pay for anything that I had in my life. So that's a scam. I paid tens of thousands of dollars for a degree, right? So I'm not afraid to pay for a course anymore. I'm not afraid to pay for coaching anymore. I'm not afraid to pay to join a network. I'm not afraid to pay for those things anymore because I am the asset. I am the asset. If I see me as the asset, I'm willing to invest in the outset to get the outcome. And so one of the things that shifted in my mindset was, if I believe that God has a plan for me and a vision for me, then I need to invest in me to birth that vision. Otherwise, I'm going to be operating out of intuition, instinct. And, you know, the Bible says there's a way that seems right to a man and the end leads death, right? It's like, I'm not even surrendering this to a multitude of counselors. It says there's a safety, Proverbs 18:1. A man who seeks his own judgment, his own wisdom, isolates himself, seeks his own judgment, his wisdom, right? And he rebels against a multitude of counselors. So it means that I have to submit my dream, the thing I feel like God gave me, to a multitude of counselors. Sometimes that's a coach if you can't find a mentor, right?
Yeah.
And so the big distinction for me was I had to get out of this. I got this thing I want to do, but I'm scared. Man, you know what? Just start trying it. Yeah. And the further along you get into and you get stuck, you realize I need help, I need coaching, I need consulting, and that's where Coach BJ Thompson comes in. That's
there you go.
You, available everywhere, wherever sold, wherever books are sold.
I love it, man. I love it. Listen, so I'm gonna tell you, a few years ago, my wife and I we're always on a quest to get healthy. And man, I was like, my guy BJ got the 45-day challenge. Man, talk about that, right? So
Did y'all
merch.
do it?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We got our meal plan.
People that were the results.
So we did lose weight. I remember it helped us. This is what I'll tell you. I did BJ's 45-day challenge. It's a health challenge. And what it did help me to recognize is, man, how much sugar was in stuff and what was in my food. Like, you had us, man, like, go look at what was in the food that we were getting to make sure it was like, I was surprised the stuff that I thought, oh man, this is just, pretty natural. It's pretty, and the very complicated names on the back of some of those packages. I was like, man, I got to find something else. So what that did, and the exercise plan was very simple, just simple things to do. And it produced results. And so kudos to you. Shout out to you. Talk about the built your journey of putting health out there, because that seemed a little bit different than the stuff you were doing, but it's connected.
Yeah, and that's the part of holistic growth, right? So part of holistic growth is mind, body, soul. We learn a very compartmentalized view of life, especially people in the faith. They just learn a very overly spiritualized view of life. And so what I recognized after my dad had a stroke and passed away, I recognized just how flawed that view was, right? I realized how hard, again, the consequences are steep, right? Because you're only thinking about spirituality and calling and all these different things. You're not realizing that you have high blood pressure. You're not thinking through the fact that, you are a diabetic, you're pre-diabetic. Like, there's a lot of different things that are happening in the mix of all of this. And so what I would say is, when I began to write this course, I started to see we are not incorporating the mental, the physical, and the spiritual aspects of life that would allow us to not just survive, but for us to thrive. So I wrote the course. I wrote a 45-day course, right? So the course you went through, I wrote. I realized that part of this coaching is not just writing books and speaking, it's writing courses, and courses that help regular individuals have an experience to transform life. And what the irony of it is, I think, the trainers and other people in my life, when they saw that I was writing a course on health, I think it felt very intimidating because I'm not a health trainer, I'm not a physical trainer, anything like that. I had mastered the principles enough so I could see the connection between the mind, body, and the soul. And now I probably have sold, maybe more than 5,000 of those courses.
Yeah.
So I've helped more than 5,000 people.
Yeah.
All right. Transform their life. I'm pretty good. Right.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, man. I mean, listen, it helped us. It helped us. And man, you got testimonials upon testimonials of people. Listen, just tell Show Baraka that thing don't make you jump over an offense, all right? I was like, bro, don't try to jump over no fence at the age you're at in flip-flops, man. Don't do that.
Oh, he fell so hard in flip-flops.
That was hilarious, man. That was hilarious.
But again, once I realized that my coaching, again, marketplace value, life expert, that means I'm onto something in life. I can write a course on it. I can write a book on it. And it's because it's written out of real experience and real pain. So my purpose is derived from my pain. If I have real pain, I can write something really well around it. And it just helps people because I'm going step by step on what they need to do.
BJ, I'm loving this, man. Listen, so you package this stuff, and this is where a lot of people get stuck, right? So you're going to relate to this. Marketing and sales, man. This just feels so worldly, man. It feels so, and for a lot of us, it feels uncomfortable. I'm putting myself out there, and a lot of fear of rejection, talk about, okay, I got the product, which some people can do that. But the marketing, how do I get it out there and just overcoming some of my mental blockage to put it out there? Talk about that a little bit. And how did you do it?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you need help. If that's not your thing, you need help. I mean, I have no problem recruiting and hiring help. One of the things that's changed for me dramatically over this time is recognizing my own weaknesses. If I don't like doing copyright, I need to hire somebody to do copyright. If I struggle to do visuals and great posts, I need to hire somebody to do visuals and great posts. If I struggle to, create clear and compelling vertical testimonies, I need to hire somebody to do that. I have no problem asking for help. And I think that we think that pride is talking about what you do, when really pride is not asking for help when you need it. So a lot of us are more prideful than what we even realize. We're not asking for help. It's clear that we're stuck. It's clear we need a coach. Go to buildabetterus.com. Free coaching consultation, right? Pick up Awaken A Better You. You get sold everywhere. Audible, Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, wherever sold. You can pick up the book. It's clear we need help, but we don't have the courage to ask it. And so I think the first step is just having courage. I think the second thing is, if you feel uncomfortable, pursue someone who has proof of concept to create a plan, right? So now you need consultants. You have to delegate. You have to go find someone to give you a plan. Maybe it's a rollout plan. Maybe it's a funnel, right? Like, there's different things that you need. And so what I personally did, when I finally saw, man, I have this product, I started, actually, my first course was the 45-day challenge that I was seriously moving and selling. And I sat with a consultant. I called a friend who built out funnels. She built it out. And then she said, it's going to cost you X amount of thousands of dollars to get this built out. So I paid her. I paid their team to build out a funnel to automate my course. Now when people go through, it's a beautiful course. People go through it, but because I was not afraid to invest in myself.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to the marketing piece, it's not just about what people say about your product. It's about you building in, like, you investing in you enough to where you can delegate those tasks to people who are good at what they do, especially if you feel like you only have enough to build out the product.
BJ, I love that, man. He sounds like the answer is not just a how, it's a who. And that who might be somebody to give you a plan, and then somebody to execute that plan in ways that you're not good at. That's a good tip.
Yes, sir.
Man, so BJ, you've been in business with Build a Better Us for how many years now?
5.
Okay. If you can go back 5 years. And by the way, I remember when you were doing conferences, things on marriage. Go back 5 years and talk to that BJ Thompson. What advice would you give him now?
If I could talk to 5 years ago, BJ, this is what I would say. Keep the course. It's going to get better. You do have to burn the boats, but you have to create the plan. The plan is what guides how you move, and it allows you to flow through this smoothly. You're going to need people. There's no way around that. If you got a God's vision, you're going to need God's people involved, and you're going to have to delegate to those people. Also, the humility to be a learner is going to be key. You don't know because you're not supposed to know, right? You're supposed to understand what that means. You're going to have to experience things that could feel very challenging and very hard, but that's a part of the process. And then here's the thing. You don't know that your breakdown is going to be a breakthrough. Eventually that's going to be a breakthrough, and it's going to bless people in ways that you could not imagine. And so I think that BJ, I would just tell him, draw out the plan, take the risk, but learn how to trust others. You're going to need other people, coaches, consultants, peers. You're going to need them more than what you ever imagined before. So
That's good, man. That's good. BJ, I want to just let you know, man, I'm excited. I'm proud. I'm cheering you on. I look at your website and I'm seeing it's not just BJ, man. You got a team around you, brother. So I'm just, I love it. I love it. All right. Somebody's watching this. I usually end this way. Let me see if I shift this a little bit. Somebody's watching this and is scared. Like, dude, I got something. I got ministry. I'm helping people. I'm scared. Talk to that person. I'm gonna spotlight you. Talk to that person. Just give them some words that you believe God needs them to hear to move the ministry into the marketplace?
Yeah, first and foremost, you know, you being scared is a natural feeling. I remember watching a segment from Kobe Bryant about fear and how Kobe believed that fear is something that needs to go through you, that you don't need to try to stop it. You need to just allow it to flow through you. And so what I want to say to you first and foremost is that fear is a natural part of existing, living, being a human being. What I would also say to you is do what you can and then ask for help. A lot of people are waiting for some magical bullet or some magical answer. The truth of the matter is do what you can and now go seek help. But seek help from people who have what we call proof of concept. They have a proven track record of helping people either organize, structure, or execute the thing that you specifically want to do. As you do that, you're going to find that this thing that was just a seed begins to become a little plant, a small tree, a middle-sized tree, and then a big tree.
Yeah.
And as you close that out, what you'll realize is that the whole time that you've been scared, God's been birthing in you something that you never could have imagined, you never could have seen before.
I love it, brother. I love it. Listen, you speak in ways that resonate with me, and so I want to thank you for that. BJ, tell the folks who are watching, tell the folks who are listening to this podcast how they can get more info on Build a Better Us, the resources, the things that you have, and how they can connect with you. So first of all, give us your website so folks can go check it out.
Sure. Go to bj-thompson.com, and you can check out the book. You can check out my free webinar. I'm going to host a crazy webinar that's right, bj-.com. So there you go. You got it. I see that.
I got a little something here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You can also pick up a copy of the book. I would just tell you, pick it up at Audible, audiobooks, Walmart, Target, wherever books are sold, and pick up a copy of my book, right? You can also check out the Build a Better Us podcast. You'll hear me on that podcast. We're actually in the process of launching a new season. I'm super excited about that. So we're back to podcasting. So we're doing just what you guys are doing. And the last thing is, again, if you want coaching, personal coaching, go to buildabetterus.com, click coaching, and then book your free consultation. We'll connect with you, hear your story, your narrative, where you are, and then begin to see how we can partner with you and help you move along in your journey.
BJ, you got a social that they can follow? What social media platform you want them to?
BJ116 on Twitter.
BJ116, right?
Yep, at BJ116.
All right, got you, man. Listen, our guest today, BJ Thompson. I told you I was going to be a good episode. This is one that you cannot listen to this and not share this with a friend. If you don't share this with a friend, you're not a friend. All right, that person's not. That person's not your friend. But listen, BJ, I appreciate you, my brother. And for those of you on here, man, take this inspiration, take all the stuff you get here, and go take your ministry out into the marketplace and increase your income and your impact. Let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Monetize Your Ministry podcast with Kamon Hines. For more information, visit our website at www.monetizeyourministrypodcast.com. That's www.monetizeyourministrypodcast.com. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please share this episode with someone who needs it. Let's increase our income and impact.